Hello, everybody. It says we are live. So it's Trish Ali in Alberta, Canada, and I'm just being joined by my business partner, the esteemed Larry Lever. And today we are continuing our discussion on disruptive technology. We have our own, please don't do that, hon. Gotta be quiet. This is William. We have our own patent-pending disruptive technology that we've been developing for, I believe it's going on 7 years now, something like that. And we incorporated the company, King Sunshine Solar Systems, in October of 2011, but we've actually been working on the project for quite a few years longer than that before we decided to go for patents. And so we started this hangout to provide a platform for other disruptive technologies, as well as to talk about our own, to help other fledgling new companies that have new technologies and new ideas, specifically in regards to lessening our global dependence on fossil fuels. That's what our technology is meant to do. And if you'd like to take a look at our project, you can visit our website at kingsss.ca. Tonight, however, we have an illuminating subject, and we are going to talk about the new LED technology that exists for lighting fixtures, both for household and business applications. LEDs are making a big splash all over the world for creating a more efficient way of lighting up our lives. So Larry's going to be talking to us a lot about the technical aspects of LEDs and how they work. And we're going to do a little bit of a discussion, kind of a marketplace comparison of the old incandescent light bulb brought to us fondly by Thomas Edison, as well as the new compact fluorescent light bulbs and other fluorescent lighting, and just talk about why LED lighting is better and why you should pay the extra money to go for it and use it in your home or workspace. So did you have any opening comments on LED lighting, Larry, to share with our viewers?
Well, I kind of discovered LEDs when I was working on another invention. It was basically a glow-in-the-dark hockey puck for Canadian markets mainly. It was something that kids could use to go outside and play after the sun went down. They wouldn't lose their puck so early. That's where I discovered LEDs, and I was really amazed on how small they were and how easy they were to work with. They're these little tiny things, and that came with their own bulbs. But there's also even smaller ones now, and they're made into all different types of products. So yeah, it's a big switch from what we're used to with fluorescent lighting and with the incandescent bulb. It's really good to see that there's something now available to us that can actually light a room like we have in our house. And you know, they use so little electricity, you can leave them on and you don't even notice.
And we lost Larry. All right, well, it looks like Larry might be having some difficulties with his internet connection today. He dropped off a couple times. You're back, but I expect you to go again because before we even started the broadcast, we lost you a couple times. So I'm not seeing your video feed. I don't think mine is showing either, but I was hearing you. So anyway, I know that as usual, with disruptive technology, and basically the way to know if you have one way to know if you have a disruptive technology on your hand is if people resist it. Because I know that not so much LEDs, but there was a big push for compact fluorescent bulbs that went on. They were actually, where we live in Alberta, Canada, they were actually giving away a lot of these compact fluorescent light bulbs, encouraging people to use them. And so many people were against it. They were like, I'm not using those light bulbs. I like my old energy-sucking light bulb, da-da-da. And it's like, what? However, there are, with the compact fluorescent bulbs, those are for those who don't know, those are the ones that have the little spiral, and they're the bottom part fits the socket of the same as the incandescent bulbs, but it has the little spiral, so it screws in just like your other light bulbs, but with the spiral. And there was some valid arguments about the use of those, because my understanding was when they break and shatter, there is heavy metals, including mercury, that actually are released from inside of the compact fluorescent little spiral. And apparently they're very, very tiny particles, and they go into the air, and they're very easily breathed in, and of course carcinogenic and toxic to humans and animals. However, I think it's very minuscule amounts, but over time, if you're smashing compact fluorescent light bulbs around your house every day, probably you'd have health issues pretty quick after that. But I don't really believe in any of that stuff. My personal opinion is that health comes from here, because it's to me, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. So if you are grateful for your healthy, strong body, it stays healthy and strong. However, when you take your health for granted, it breaks down, and that's where I believe the root of all disease comes from. I don't believe it comes from toxins in the environment. Those may play an effect, but I think that if you have that grateful attitude of being thankful for health, that you are rewarded with more health. So I don't really believe that this whole mercury and aluminum and tiny particles released from the fluorescent compact fluorescent bulbs is really gonna hurt anyone. Possibly over the long term, but in the short term, it's kind of a ridiculous argument in my mind. And however, from what I understand and what I've seen, although the compact fluorescent bulbs are better as far as efficiency goes than the old style incandescent light bulb, which is the bulb with the filament on the inside that you can see heating up while the light is on. From what I understand, the LEDs kind of smoke them both as far as efficiency goes, and I think that it's just the newness of the LEDs that it makes them a little bit more costly. I think that once they're more established and more widely used, like everything else, the price goes down. So back to what I was saying before, is that one way of identifying if your idea fits into the disruptive technology category is if people resist the idea. If people tell you your idea is a bad idea, it will never work, and that there's a good chance that it's a disruptive technology. However, in order to be a successful disruptive technology, not only does it have to create change, which people resist and tell you it's a bad idea, but it also has to be either more efficient or less expensive. That's basically the secret of the market. If you can create any product or service that is either A, more efficient, or B, less expensive, you win in the marketplace. That's the formula for having a successful business product or service. So Larry, how do you, now that you're back, how do you feel in regards, and I know you know a lot more about the numbers and the technical aspect and the actual efficiencies involved, but how do you feel about the comparison between the incandescent fluorescent lighting in general, especially the new compact fluorescent lights, and LEDs, and why you feel that the LEDs are much more superior?
No, it's pretty obvious. It's LEDs are a real safe product. The light emitted from the LEDs, I'm quite certain it's the full spectrum of light. So unlike incandescent and fluorescent, it provides you with all the vitamins and stuff that you need from sunlight. It's the same as sunlight. So I think it's and also the fact that they hardly use any electricity at all. I believe when they started making LEDs, they said you'd need a whole bunch of them in order to, light up a room. And I can remember that, and I was thinking, well, that's just basing it on the technology they had at the time. And lo and behold, it took about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years, and then all of a sudden you could go and buy screw-in light bulbs that were LEDs, and you can buy them from a store. And yeah, it looks like a light bulb, kind of looks like a light bulb. It's a little more sophisticated, but it screws into the regular socket and lights up with plenty of light. So they kind of missed the target on that when they said that you're going to need a lot of LEDs to light up a room. It turned out they didn't. It just took a little more development of the product. But whenever I think of these, being in the recycling business as well, whenever I think of these fluorescent bulbs or the compact fluorescent bulbs, it kind of gives me a shiver because I know how much mercury they contain, and when they pop, you don't want them to pop because that means they release all their it releases their the chemicals, well, which is mercury, and I don't know how, but it's how mercury could be in a vapor form. But yeah, it's in a vapor form, and so as soon as the bulb cracks, that vapor is released. Very much the same as a fluorescent bulb or a fluorescent tube bulb. The tube bulbs, I think, contain a lot more. And we were asked actually by the local depot here about 2 years ago if we were interested in taking their fluorescent bulb disposal equipment. They were basically going to give it to the company, the recycle company, to dispose of these fluorescent bulbs because they didn't want to do it either. That's how nasty they are. That the recycle depot doesn't even want to recycle them because they're not. They have to be zoned for that sort of work because it's a hazardous material. So if you look at LEDs, I'm not even sure I haven't looked into what the recycling process for LEDs is, but definitely, as far as disruptive technology, those little things are disrupting all the lighting technologies, and I believe they can be as bright as halogen lights. Not quite as small, but I think they can make them that bright as well. And that's pretty amazing when you really think about it. And as far as the technical stuff goes, I don't think I can get all that technical into it. I know that it's possible to buy little tiny LEDs and solder them all together to make your own light bulbs. People can do that.
Do you know anything about the numbers for efficiency in regards to?
Oh yeah, they'll outlast everything out there. It's something like 6 million hours of use that you can get out of an LED. And so the numbers are just staggering how much longer they last. And it's good to know that when they invented it, they told us, yeah, this is how long these things are going to last compared to the other bulbs, other than going the other way around it and saying, well, it's going to last you a year, although we can make it last for the rest of your life. So it's nice that the news reported it, the truth, before they even came to market.
Yeah, well, definitely. That's interesting to me because I had no idea that the LED lighting provided vitamin D like the sun does for us. So that's really interesting that the LED lighting is actually good for you as compared to people arguing that the compact fluorescent is bad for you. And somehow I remember there was a study done, and people that were in work environments where they were under fluorescent lighting, like the regular tube fluorescent lighting, were suffered from a higher percentage of depression. I think I heard that a long time ago. I don't know if it's true. I know that the scientists out there, they can create studies to support absolutely any argument for anything that they want. It's funny when a company funds a study of something, the study always shows that their product is the solution somehow. So that's how that works. Yeah, you can hire, any company can hire scientists to study something and prove that their product is the answer. So those studies, I'm not too sure about that, but I will have to take a look at what the exact health benefits are for LEDs. And definitely on these Hangouts, a lot of these topics, like yesterday we talked about electric cars, and today we're talking about the LED lighting, and we're going to talk about any kind of disruptive technology that we can think of. And a lot of these topics will be revisited as the Hangout grows in popularity. As there's more viewers and more participants that join us, we will be definitely revisiting these topics. So super exciting. I'm looking forward to all the expert input that we'll be able to get on the Hangout in the future. So yeah, it's awesome technology. It's not perfect. All disruptive technologies have issues when they're new, and so I look at this Google Hangout, and Larry keeps freezing up, and maybe the Hangout gets lost. And one time, Larry didn't even get to go on the Hangout because I had a technical issue, which had nothing to do with Google. Another time, the Hangout got ended early because I'm not sure, something happened with Google, and so we just had to cut it short. And so yeah, much like this Google Hangout platform, all of these disruptive technologies that we're talking about initially have resistance, and during that time of resistance, there's usually a lot of glitches, which makes which adds fuel to the fire of all the naysayers out there. So that can be frustrating. So there may be people out there right now saying, oh, these Google Hangouts are stupid, I'm not going to watch that, or I'm not going to participate in that, because they watched one and they seen people dropping off the call, or their video freezing, or this or that, and they think, oh, these things are worthless because it didn't work perfectly. And when you are actually developing a technology, you learn very, very quickly that what you are looking for is progress. Looking for perfection is a waste of time. In my opinion, it's something that really doesn't exist, or if it does exist, it exists all the time, and it's all around us. So if I choose to believe in perfection, I believe that it lies in the imperfection. So everything is perfect just the way that it is, and it is perfectly awaiting our perfect improvement on it. Um, realistically, though, the way that most people view perfection, I don't think that type of viewpoint exists where um, there's no problem or setback or struggle that occurs, and especially when you're dealing with a disruptive technology, because by nature, disruptive technologies are usually new to the marketplace, and so yeah, there are issues that come up. And so most people see that and say, oh, well, this thing isn't perfect, so I don't want anything to do with it. And then at the same time, when you're growing something like the Google Hangout platform or any or LED technology, it does get better. It improves over time. The companies that create these products are always improving them and trying to make them more user friendly for their customers. And so over time, these disruptive technologies become more and more accepted. And I can see that happening slowly with LED lighting. And I know that I just brought to the attention of the management at the barn that they now have, they use these big gas halogen bulbs for lighting this large arena space where riding and competitions and stuff go on, and they actually have a new kind of LED bulb that replaces those big, very energy intensive halogen gas bulb lighting. And so according to the advertisement that I pointed out, there's something like 50% reduction in costs of lighting costs as far as electricity goes. So hopefully we'll get those implemented and replace those big halogen bulbs, because I know that it's always an issue there of turn those lights off, because they're very, they use a lot of energy. And so, Larry, could you tell us a little bit about what you've seen as far as people implementing the LED technology, like different places where they are starting to use it, and what kind of lighting that they've replaced with LEDs? I noticed in the automotive industry, they're starting to very quickly use a lot more LEDs in the different marker lights and signal, tail lights, and I think even headlights for the automotive industry. But what other areas do you see that they are using LEDs, and what kind of lighting are the LEDs replacing? In automotives, again, a lot of times it is also the halogen lighting that's being replaced by LEDs. What do you see out there, Larry?
I thought light therapy was an interesting thing where they're using LED lights to cure people of sicknesses. But LEDs, they're used for a lot of, to replace a lot of neon signs now. Neon is pretty problematic and expensive. And so they've got stuff like Light Rope, which is an LED product. And like I said earlier, they have light bulbs. Where it's being used, I think they started using them on, I know the police vehicles are using really bright LEDs. Emergency vehicles are also using really bright LEDs. And they almost look like strobe lights. They're so bright. And they use them, they started using them on the backs of semi-trailers, I remember, first, because you can see them really clearly. I believe they're using LEDs for traffic lights, warning beacons, things like that. It's all LED technology, all really waterproof and rugged, and they last a really long time. So I think that's the big thing about them mainly, is that they're really super rugged and they last a really long time.
And so, have you heard much from naysayers in regards to LEDs? I know there was a lot of stink about the compact fluorescent bulbs, but do you see any kind of um, what's the word? Kind of a negative feedback of people that are not wanting to change to LEDs. I know that the cost is a barrier for most people to replacing with LEDs, which to me is really ridiculous because, yeah, short term you pay a little bit more, but in the long run, I do believe that with electrical costs, there's savings there. So I don't really understand that argument. Have you? No, it looks like he dropped out. So yeah, I don't really understand how you can argue that, oh, they're so expensive because of the longevity of the lighting. It's hard to justify that they don't pay for themselves once by the time they I guess burn out. Yeah, LEDs burn out like regular light bulbs. By the time the light bulb is used up or burnt out, they pretty much have more than covered the initial cost of switching to that lighting in the savings that you receive on your utility bill when you pay for your electricity for turning on the light once it gets dark outside. So lighting is actually a super, super important modern convenience, especially up here in Canada, because we experience in the winter times we have days where there is like 5 or 6 hours of sunlight in the dead of winter, and some of those days, if it's really overcast, like you can have the lights on literally all day long because there just never is enough sunlight making it to the surface of the earth during those short winter days, especially if it's really overcast or stormy. So we intensively use lighting fixtures up here in Canada, and so it's pretty interesting to see how slowly people are upgrading because that savings exists. So I'm wondering if Larry has any insight as to why more people are not making the switch. And I noticed that when he was talking about where the LED lights are currently being used, emergency vehicles, street lights and signs, as usual, this awesome new disruptive technology is often first picked up by governments because they've got the money. So it's a little frustrating for me because yeah, I see government programs, and they have budgets that are set forth by the parliament, and then I know that in a lot of cases programs do not want to see their funding cut, and so they will take the funds that they're given by the government and they will literally waste those funds to ensure that their budget is not cut. And yeah, I tell you, if any business tried to run that way, you would go bankrupt so fast by saying that, oh, we got all this money, let's like spend it all and use it up so that we can get more. Because in a business, that your customers don't go for that. But when you're the government, when you're a government program and it's tax dollars and there's yeah, it's a totally different thing. So anyway, yeah, it's nice that the government is able to upgrade and use the LEDs. However, I'm really curious to know if Larry has any insight on the general population and if he's heard where the resistance is coming from. Because to me, as a business owner, any place where I could replace my lighting with LED, to me it makes sense that I would want to do that. to save money over the long term. I think most business owners, I think it's almost a prerequisite when you're in any business that you have a long-term perspective and that you look to the future and that you pay attention to the shifts that are going on in the marketplace. If you want to survive, you have to be flexible and adaptable. And so, to me, I think that we're not at that stage where we have a workspace that requires lighting for King Sunshine. So, but however, when we do put together some sort of manufacturing facility, it is my intention to use LED lighting throughout any sort of manufacturing facility or offices, or what we will be building in the near future for infrastructure in order to create and sell our product in its usable form. As well as for my home, I have intentions of using all LED lighting in my dream home that I'm actually building. Construction has begun. And the place where I'm living right now, it's Hello, everybody. I'm back. Oh, Larry's there too. So, Larry, before we got cut off there, I was just asking if you had any insight as to why more businesses and private citizens are not upgrading to the LED technology more quickly. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Not really. It doesn't. It might be ignorance. A lot of people don't know what they are. They might think they're not bright enough because of the stigma that came along when they first came out. Is that a lot of people said, "Oh, they're not very bright," and so that's transferred to the actual people buying them. So they're, but they are brighter than the light. The LEDs are brighter than people that should be buying them. They're a great technology, and I think they're priced relatively the same as light bulbs. There's not a big difference in price. I remember when they came out, there was a dramatic difference in price, and now they're very similar. The prices are of all these products are similar. Could be that for businesses, businesses switched over to whatever halogen or fluorescent. So to replace that whole system, like replacing fluorescent light would be pretty expensive for an office building. So that's probably why they stick with the fluorescence. But I don't think that's, it's a slow turning, and it's a disruptive technology. So it's going to take time for everybody to turn over, start using different stuff. Just takes time, that's all.
The other question that I had to ask you, excuse my my ignorance, because really could have prepared a little bit better for this discussion. Like I said, we'll be coming back to this topic again, I'm sure. But I didn't take the opportunity before we started the broadcast to look up what LED actually stands for, and I was wondering if you might know that, and if not, I'll just quickly search it.
Light emitting diode.
Right. See, I knew he would know. That's why I didn't search it. So, do you know much about, like, I kind of I understand the incandescent light bulb pretty well. There's the filament inside that heats up and almost like a fire creates light. With the fluorescent lights, I don't quite, I know there's some kind of particles inside that become agitated when the electricity is added and they emit light, but what is kind of, do you know what the light emitting diode actually, do you know any information about how it actually works in comparison to incandescent and fluorescent lighting? Like, what's going on inside the bulb that's different, that makes it so much less energy intensive to use?
Well, I know a diode is a very small electronic part. So rather than being a filament or a gas in a tube, it's a very tiny electronic component like a transistor, and it provides a great and intense amount of light DC with DC power. I also know that there's different types of LEDs for their colors. They use a different chemical. So they're kind of a complex little dealie because they're a lot different than what we've used for so many years. It's just small. It's super small because it's electronic part, and it's also because it's super small. It's kind of cheap. It's like an inexpensive thing.
Yeah, so definitely I have. Hi, everybody. So it looks like we are both having a little bit of issues with our internet connections tonight. That's happening to both of us. So
I had to download the plugin again. That's the third time that's happened since we started the series.
okay, well that's not necessary for our audience to know about that stuff. We're back, and what I was saying before before we lost our internet connection there is I was talking about people resisting new technology and how I think that a big contributing factor was when the government came in and said that they were banning the incandescent light bulbs. I think that when the government steps in and starts trying to push people around a little bit or saying, what people can or can't do, that just builds up even more resistance. So in my mind, I'm believing that a lot of that resistance may actually stem from that move of the government trying to say that these incandescent bulbs should be banned. And like, I don't know, some communities and municipalities may have actually gone through with banning incandescent light bulbs. However, that always upsets me a lot, because I do not think that government needs to stick their noses in that. And actually, I think in this particular case, it's probably been a huge detriment to the technology of LEDs, because when they said, okay, we're banning these incandescent light bulbs, a whole bunch of people started like holding on to that old technology like it was their firstborn child. And so even though at the time it was being banned in for the compact fluorescent light bulbs being brought in to the marketplace, now that LEDs are available, people have been pushed to cling to their old technology in a way that has really damaged the way that the market is supposed to work. I think that if the government had not interfered with the free market and made that move to say, hey, we're banning these light bulbs, that a lot of people would have upgraded to LED by this time, because it doesn't really make sense even for offices to use the fluorescent light bulbs. Even though it would be expensive to upgrade to LEDs, you would think that most of these companies and business would see that the long-term savings would be worth that upfront expense. However, potentially there may be some of this psychology that has occurred because of the government throwing their weight around and threatening to ban these other light bulbs. Then it creates this resistance to new technology all over the world, just by one community moving to remove something, take away a choice from people. It can have the opposite effect of what it's intended to do, and create people to make the opposite choice of what the government wanted. Because as humans, that's kind of like what we do. If you tell us that we can't do something, that's what we want to do. Like when you tell a little kid, don't touch the boiling pot, it's hot, you're going to hurt yourself. Well, they want to find out for themselves. And so I think even as adults, we kind of have that same kind of mentality that happens. So when the government says, you can't have these light bulbs, we say, oh, heck no, I'm keeping my light bulb. You can't tell me what to do. And whereas if the free market had just been left alone to do its magic, people would have looked at the technology and come to their own conclusion that, hey, this is better for me. My electric bill is going to go down. I can buy this light bulb that's more expensive, but it lasts longer and it uses less electricity, which saves me money. I'm going to buy the new light bulb.